Documentary series on the history of Egypt. Egypt is the land of civilizations from the oldest ages. It is the oldest civilization established on Earth. The ancient Egyptian civilization is known as the civilization of the pharaohs, a civilization that was established on the banks of the Nile in Egypt, or what is known as the civilization of the Nile Valley. The history of that civilization dates back to about 3000 BC. The role of Nile played a pivotal role in the establishment of the ancient Egyptian civilization. So the great Greek historian Herodotus said of it that Egypt is the gift of the Nile, but in view of what the ancient Egyptian provided, who always sought to refine the immortal river and make better use of it in the establishment of the oldest civilization known to mankind. The pharaonic civilization was characterized by the flourishing of the fields of art and beauty, which was evident through the architecture in the construction of the Great Pyramids, and the monuments and artifacts engraved with hieroglyphs. Egypt thrived for thousands of years from c. 8000 BCE to c. 30 BCE as an independent nation whose culture was famous for great cultural advances in every area of human knowledge, from the arts to science to technology and religion. The great monuments that ancient Egypt is still celebrated for reflect the depth and grandeur of Egyptian culture, which influenced so many ancient civilizations, among them Greece and Rome. One of the reasons for the popularity of Egyptian culture is its emphasis on the grandeur of the human experience. Their great monuments, tombs, temples, and artwork all celebrate life and stand as reminders of what once was and what human beings, at their best, are capable of achieving. Agriculture and trade were the two main pillars of the Egyptian economy, and the barter system was the financial system in ancient Egypt, and trade was divided into two parts. The first of which was internal land and river trade through the Nile River, and foreign trade with the regions of the Levant, Africa, and Greece mainly, and it was cotton, copper, gold, and others. Products such as textiles, medicinal herbs, and pottery are the staple commodities in Egypt. The Egyptian king, the priests class, and the senior state officials controlled the economy in Egypt, and they controlled the land completely. And they organized irrigation channels and crop quotas, and so on, and the regulation of markets was one of the state's responsibilities, and they maintained a balance in the social system through the economy, and its control through a strict caste system has continued in Egypt since antiquity. The ancient Egyptian culture was mainly associated with agriculture, and this was reflected in the daily practices of the Egyptian individual, and thus the land, the sky, and the Nile River formed the main part of this culture, and religion reflected power and administration in Egypt. So religion was basically linked to power, as the Egyptian culture was characterized by the presence of music and various holidays, as well as cleanliness was a general culture for all Egyptians. The most important achievements of the ancient Egyptian civilization. Architecture. One of the most famous achievements of the Egyptian civilization. The pyramids, temples, huge obelisks, and the columns in their ornate capitals that preceded the pillars of Hercules by thousands of years were a landmark and a guide for all subsequent civilizations of the Egyptian civilization. Architecture in Egypt was very developed due to its religious importance in terms of their need for it, for the processing and construction of royal tombs and others. Arts. The Egyptian civilization was famous for the many arts it left, from the art of sculpture to the art of photography in ancient Egypt of all kinds, which left a great imprint on the history of the civilization, and the arts of writing, decoration, and drawing laid the first foundations for these arts later through the murals of temples and drawings spread across columns and ceilings in the temples and tombs of royal Egypt, and the papyri were one of the means that reflected the arts of writing and painting. Medicine. The ancient Egyptians reached a sophisticated level in the medical field. They were carrying out precise surgical operations using precise surgical tools, and the mummification that was carried out in Egypt was at a high level of technology, through the use of advanced chemicals, and some ancient historical documents in Egypt indicate, to the knowledge of the ancient Egyptians about quarantine and its implementation more than once in the cities of ancient Egypt. Papyrus. The invention of papyrus in Egypt was in response to their need for documentation and a history of their lives and work. In addition to the sanctity of writing for them, papyrus made a great step for all of humanity. Mathematics. The ancient Egyptians were able to build the pyramids and other huge monuments as a result of their knowledge of complex mathematical equations, and this is one of their most important scientific achievements. Writing. One of the first civilizations to know writing, and through it, archaeologists were able to learn about the past in Egypt and its neighboring regions, and hieroglyphic writing is one of the most important sources of ancient history. Astronomy. Astronomy was linked to religious rituals in Egypt, and archaeologists discovered that the ancient Egyptians could calculate the date and dates of eclipses with extreme accuracy. Engineering. The greatest evidence of their engineering development is the huge architectural works in Egypt, especially the pyramids. The most important effects of the ancient civilization of Egypt. The 3 pyramids, one of the 7 wonders of the world. Abu Simbel Temple, Karnak Temple, Pyramid of Zoser, Sphinx, Temple of Ramses II, Tutankhamun Mask, Hatshepsut Temple, the ancient city of Abydos, Valley of the Kings. The Egyptian civilization represents unparalleled creativity in the whole world, which was created by the hand of the ancient pharaohs who built temples, pyramids, statues, and every part of the ancient Egyptian monuments is inspiring to the whole world, because they are masterpieces that inhabit the greatest and most important museums in the world. And to this day, ancient Egyptian history continues to discover more of the creativity of the ancient Egyptian civilization and presents it to the world to increase its fascination with it, as it is a history full of fun.